Hey guys, this is Tim, and if you're here, you're wanting to learn or possibly buy a house in 2023, and I'm here to help you. A lot of you guys are going to be first-time home buyers, and a lot of you are going to be someone who sold a house 2 and 3, 4, 5 times. I'm going to speak as if this is the first-time home buyer, and you need credit help, because most people did. When I bought my first house, I needed help to improve my credit, because unless your credit is at 850 and plus, you can always improve it. And the better your credit, usually the better your rate is. So first of all, credit is your ability to pay back a mortgage, to pay back a loan. It is a credit score is your numerical number that they give you that says your ability to pay back what you're borrowed. Credit score predicts your likelihood to be late on a payment in the next 24 months, and so the next 2 years. So sometimes if you're late or you've had some bad stuff on your credit, it takes up to 2 years and sometimes a little more to get off your credit score. So some of the things they're looking for is the amount of credit you have. Creditors, they want you to need credit, but not to rely on credit for everyday life. So debt to income is one thing that they look at. Debt to income is if I make $50,000 a year and my debt is $30,000. My ability to repay that debt is good. Some people who overreach, they make $50,000 a year, but they have an enormous amount of debt. So the credit is going to give you a lower score because your ability to pay back that debt long term decreases because of the amount of debt you have. They also take into account is your on-time payments or your delinquent payments, your revolving debt, and if you're behind on any debt. So looking into that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 5 tips to help improve your credit score, and they can start taking effect as fast as 30 days. The more that you do this, the more that you pay attention to this, because some of us, it's going to be a 2-year process. You know, we're watching the video in the beginning of 2023 to buy a property, but it may be 2 years before we can get our credit where we need, but we've got to start somewhere. So today, here's what we're going to start with the 5 tips. Number 1, make sure you have credit. A lot of people do not have any credit, and no credit is just as bad as bad credit when it comes to someone looking to loan you money. So make sure that you have credit, and when you have credit, make sure that credit is going to be looked at by the 3 big sources, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Make sure they're looking at it so they can report your credit to make sure that you're having good credit. 2, make sure you're paying all your debts on time. Late payments have a huge negative impact on your credit score, and just like if we were loaning people money, we'd want them to pay on time, and if they didn't, we'd probably less likely loan to them again. So the creditors and the credit score people, they look at the same way. 3, anything that's delinquent, catch up on it. Pay what little you can, pay as much as you can, but catch up on those debts so you can start having an on-time track record, even with the ones that you wasn't so good on in the beginning. 4, start paying down any revolving debt that you have. So anything like credit cards and lines of credit, anything that you have a certain amount that you're paying on, when you're paying the minimum payment, just understand that you're mainly just paying for your interest. So we need to start adding a little bit or a lot if you can, and start paying that debt down. The more I can pay it down, the more it improves my debt to income, because the debt comes down and the income stays the same. And so that gap gets a little bigger, so your buying power improves. Number 5, limit the amount of times your credit gets pulled. This is called a hard inquiry. When you're looking to buy a car, furniture, a house, they pull your credit, which is a hard inquiry. So the creditors, they do not want to see a lot of hard inquiries because they know that you're looking into getting credit, and it's not credit with them, so it's a negative impact. So make sure that you're not doing that. And if you're preparing to buy a house, you do not need to buy a new car. You do not need to buy a bunch of new furniture, because when you do this, it adds to your debt, and your debt will affect your debt to income. Okay, now that we've had the credit talk and how you can improve it, now we're going to talk about the pre-approval process. The pre-approval process is something that you go through with a lender, and when you go through with a lender, that you talk to them, and they ask you for some things, which we're going to get into, and they're able to come to a term that you could qualify for a loan, and you can qualify up to this much. So they're going to give you a range. You can qualify up to a $400,000 house, up to $1 million, whatever that number is, based on what you turn into them. And you need this before you start looking at houses, because a couple reasons. 1, you don't want to waste your time looking at houses you can't afford, and you don't want to get your hopes up, because I've seen it happen a lot of times. People going into a property and falling in love with it at a $600,000 price point, to find out they can only afford a $400,000 house. And the difference between a 600,000 and 400,000 is a pretty big difference. And once I've laid eyes on the bigger, nicer house, it's harder for me to settle and to be satisfied with that purchase. So it's really important that you get pre-qualified before you start looking. A few things that your lender is going to ask you during the pre-qualification process. First, they're going to want to be proof of who you are. They're going to want to see some identification. They're going to want to see your license, your passport, your ID, anything that verifies you are who you are. Number two, social security card. They're going to want more proof that you're who you are and you're a citizen. So they're going to ask for your social security card. 3, pay stubs. They're going to want proof that you're making the money that you're saying you're going to make. So they're going to ask for a certain set of months of pay stubs so they can calculate how much money you are making. Number 4, bank statements. They're going to want to see proof of your bank statements of what you have in your accounts. And that way they know that if you're saying you have $50,000 saved, they know that it's there. Number 5, tax documents. Because we can claim we make $1 million, but if we write all of it off on taxes and Uncle Sam only sees that we make $50,000, then when it comes to a lender's eyes, we only make $50,000. So your tax documents are going to be super important because as like I am when I'm an independent contractor and I'm an entrepreneur, you are trained to write off a lot of these expenses, but it's good to write it off because it saves you money. But it also costs you when it comes time to get credit, to get debt, because you're not showing that you're making enough income to pay for it. So you've got to be real mindful if you're in that situation of a 1099 employee, not to write off everything, because only what you've shown you've made is what they're going to count. Number 6, investment accounts. This is like your 401s, your IRAs, your stocks, your bonds, anything that you have invested. They're going to want to see this because this is going to count as money you have. It's just not accessible at the moment. So they're going to want to see these accounts too. Number 7, lists of monthly debts. What are you paying? What is your car payment? What is your rent payment? All of your revolving debt, they're going to want to see what comes out. And that's how they're going to come out to your debt to income. They're going to know what you made. They know what you spend. They see your accounts, and they're going to be able to know what your true amount that you can afford is. Number 8, a really good one to have is rental information from past landlords. And if you can get them to write a landlord reference letter saying that you always paid on time and you're a great tenant, you take care of the property, this always goes a long way with lenders. Number 9, gift letters. If you have $50,000 in your savings account that your Aunt Joan gave to you, you need a letter from Aunt Joan that proves that she gave you that money. The government does this because they don't want undocumented money being used. They don't want that you're dealing drugs or selling something you're not supposed to or stole it, or they just need proof that you've come across that money honestly before they're going to allow you to use it. And 10, last but not least, same thing we was talking about earlier, they're going to pull your credit. So after they have 1 through 10 documents and all these things they need, that's when they're going to be able to come up with an evaluation of what you can afford and how, if they can approve you. Next, now that we're pre-approved, we've improved our credit, we have got our pre-approval, now we start the home search. Now this is the fun one. There's a couple things that you're going to need to get started with your home search, and one thing I want to caution you on is don't look too broadly. So we're going to dial your home search in. Instead of looking broad just in this area at this price point, I want you to understand that we need to know the difference between what we must have and what we won't. And the reason being is we're looking at these lists of homes, we're probably going to find 5 or 6 homes that we really like, and we're going to have to weigh, this is what we have to have, and this is what we want. The more that you've nailed down that in concrete, the more you're going to make a better decision that you're going to appreciate in years to come. Because a lot of the things that you just want, you don't have to have, are going to fade away, but your have-to-haves are going to stick with you for the life of the home, most likely. Research. What neighborhoods do you like? Drive through these neighborhoods. You need to love the neighborhood. You need to love the neighbors, love the type of people that you're seeing. Understand that this is where you want to be, because even on the short term, most people are in their house 5 to 6 years. You can live in it forever. But in 5 to 6 years, am I still going to love this house? Am I going to love this neighborhood? Am I still going to be using these amenities? These are the type of questions you need to ask yourself when moving into a neighborhood. Pick a house style and something that you love and stick to it. If you want a 2-bedroom with a basement, or you want a 2-story house with an attic, this is what you're looking for. Like, let's keep our search criteria small so we know what we're looking for when it pops up. the broader we look and the more confused that we're going to get. And one thing I want you to remember, that a confused mind does not make a decision. They're too distracted. So we want to narrow down our decisions so we can find the perfect house, the perfect type, the perfect area. And as we search, a lot of this criteria will change. Working with a great agent, they're going to be able to open your mind with great questions. Do you need this or do you want this? And as that changes, so will what you're looking for. So as an agent, myself, we're going to be able to narrow down exactly what you're looking for, because it's really important to us that you're happy for the next decade in your home. We don't want to sell you into a home that you're going to not be happy in a few months. We want you to be happy the life that you're there. Really important, choose a really good real estate agent. Choosing a really good real estate agent is super important, because they're a home buying and selling expert. And it's really important that you pick one with a lot of experience. You pick one that's educated, one that knows the market, one that understands negotiations, and most importantly, one that has your best interest. That's one is really important. I see a lot of buyers, especially, using just someone that they found off the internet, or someone that their grandma told them to use, or their friend's aunt, and they don't have enough experience to lead you in the right direction. I'll give a quick example. The market we just come from was a super hot market. Everybody going over asking price, multiple offers, and then the market has cooled to more of a normal market. And that's what we're in now. Had a house listed, had an agent who hadn't sold a house in almost 8 months. When they submitted the offer, they come in $40,000 over asking price. We had 2 offers on the table that were at asking, because that agent wasn't experienced in the market of the now, what was happening now. They literally cost their buyer $40,000. That's a mistake that they'll never know happened. But as a listing agent, I knew that would happen. So make sure you pick a great agent who's going to represent you, who's going to get you to the finish line, but make sure you're there safely, make sure you're there under cost, make sure you're happy in the home that you chose. Guys, I hope you found this information beneficial. I hope it helps you buy a house in 23. I'm super excited if you do. And if you're looking anywhere in my areas, South Atlanta, from Coweta to Troop to Carroll County, East Tennessee, Tampa area, Florida, let me know. My team is equipped, my team is trained, my team is ready to help. Hey guys, I want you to remember, who you work with matters, and have a great day.